Hey guys, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. Thank you so much for tuning into this video. Today we're going to go over the I'm Dreaming of a White Ranger special that came out on VHS and then of course was aired on TV as an actual episode. We're going to start out and talk about the production issues, the things that were happening at the time, the people who were involved in the production, and then we're going to go into the actual storyline. There's a few theories, a few different things that come out of this that are really cool. Besides that, there's a character that shows up in the special that you probably did not know that appears later on in the Power Ranger series. So let's get into it. So here it is, I'm Dreaming of a White Ranger. There were a lot of people involved in this episode. The special was written by 3 individuals. Most well known when it comes to Power Rangers is Stuart St. John. He wrote Happy Birthday Zach and a large amount of the pivotal Green Ranger episodes. The other 2 writers were a writing team made up of Ron Milbauer and Terry Hughes. They've only written one other episode of Power Rangers, which was episode 13 of Zeo. They wrote an episode of The 100, 2 episodes on Hunters, 3 episodes of Quantum Break, 2 episodes of Supernatural, and the list goes on. The largest contribution was on the show Eureka. But as of 2020, it seems they are currently working separately on different projects. Terry is a co-executive producer for Warrior Nun and Star Trek Discovery, and Ron was a consulting producer for Handmaid's Tale back in 2018 and currently writing for Freak Angels. There are 2 people credited with directing this episode, one being Douglas Sloan, who was majorly involved with Power Rangers over the years, did a variety of producing for the show from Mighty Morphin Season 3 to Turbo, then back for Ninja Storm and Dino Thunder. The other director is Marco Garibaldi, who was born in Italy and he only directed 3 episodes of Power Rangers and that's it. In 2008, he started Godfather Entertainment, which he then produced a horror film called Across the Hall, but for all my research, there is no information about this entertainment company or if they did any other movies. This is always puzzling to me because the first few seasons have a lot of directors or writers who only did 1 to 3 episodes and then never did any sort of work in that industry again. I can only assume that Marco was a friend of Haim Saban and he just told him to come in and try it. Now, Marco was actually pretty famous due to his romantic involvement with Priscilla Presley, ex-wife of Elvis Presley. They were together for 21 years until they split in 2006, but with this connection to the Presley family, this episode probably should have been named I'll Have a Blue Ranger Without You. If you've watched my video on Alpha's Magical Christmas, you'll know the VHS release date really messed up the storyline of Power Rangers, and this special is no different. It was on sale in stores for purchase before airing on TV. It was released on September 12th, 1995, the same day that aired Ninja Quest Part 2, out of the 4 episodes showing the Rangers obtaining the powers of the Ninjetti. For anyone who isn't majorly into Power Rangers, the 1995 movie showed the Rangers getting the power of the Ninjetti, but Saban wasn't sure kids would understand what was going on if they couldn't see the movie. So they basically deemed the movie not canon and just filmed a whole new origin story to how they obtained the Ninjetti powers. This reveals Ninjor as the creator of the Ninjetti, as well as the previous Dino coins. But all that being said, it was only the 5th episode of Season 3, and prior to that was the Masked Rider crossover. So why is this important? In the original VHS version, there is an extended scene that shows Kat talking to the Rangers via the viewing globe. She says she's visiting family for Christmas, but Kat wasn't introduced till October 16th, which means for a whole month, no one watching the VHS episode knew who Kat was or who this actress was. Not only that, but she was evil up until November 2nd. After that, her character was just starting to question why she was being evil. They eventually aired this special as an episode on November 23rd. Of course, Kimberly is in the special as the Pink Ranger, but at this point in the show, Kat had taken over the Pink Ranger powers for 6 episodes. The Rangers had even obtained their metallic armor at this point, and the TV version cut out the scene with Kat, so it made it feel like a rerun from Season 2. If you look on YouTube or Netflix, they've changed the episode to number 16, airing right before a Ranger catastrophe, which solves the continuity problems. But this bonus scene would never make sense considering Kat was evil until the very end of A Different Shade of Pink Part 1. The second part was the power of transfer between Kimberly and Kat, so there really isn't a single part of the season where this could fit in nicely if the bonus scene was in there. The VHS version, along with having an extended scene, showed a different cut for the opening theme song. When it was airing on TV, it had the normal opening with the Ninjetti outfits and Amy Jo Johnson as Kimberly. The VHS version doesn't show the Ninjetti suits. Amy Jo is still the Pink Ranger, but the VHS version does have a quick clip of Catherine lurking behind some bushes. It doesn't introduce the actress or her name, though. The clips used in the theme are heavily taken from the Christmas special. If Kat was going to Australia to visit family for Christmas, it wouldn't be too much of a stretch for Kimberly to be home visiting her father or friends. Since she still has a tie to the pink powers, it could be assumed that Kat passed the coin back to Kimberly while she went out of town. And once Kat came home, Kim gave the coin back and then returned to preparing for the Pan-Global Games. Really, that's the only way this works, and to my knowledge, it doesn't really mess up the canon in any way, so I would have to say that's really the only explanation. It opens up on the children at the juice bar doing a children's choir run by Aisha and Kimberly. Now, one of the extras in this special, simply labeled Girl, was played by actress Tracy Lynn Cruz, who would later become Ashley Hammond, the Turbo and In-Space Yellow Ranger. This girl character Tracy plays doesn't cause any issues if it is in fact the future Yellow Ranger. Ashley was a student at Angel Grove, and it actually makes more sense for Ashley and Carlos or Justin to be in the background of early seasons, considering they grew up in Angel Grove. So to me, it is our first sighting of Ashley Hammond in the Power Ranger live-action universe. Kind of cool. Also, I know that Tracy and Johnny Young Bosch were friends in advance to her becoming a full-time cast member on Turbo, so I wonder if he got her the job for this episode or if they met on set during filming. I think I found her in the footage, but it is challenging considering an extra is supposed to not stick out. But I think this is her very quickly working at a table. Might be wrong though, and her hair is kind of in her face. We have a pretty typical Power Ranger episode where Tommy is a nice guy to a little girl, Bulk and Skull act like idiots, Skull kisses Kimberly without her consent. At least that one was planned. In interviews, JDF said in an off take, Kimberly says, "Oh look, mistletoe," and Jason as a prank said, "Oh right," and pulled his pants down. Everything's just a little maybe over the line in some of these, I don't know. Then we see all the villains. Zedd comes up with a toy called the Hypno Spin. It causes kids to be brainwashed. Zedd sends Rita off to the North Pole to get the elves to make these toys. Back at the juice bar, the kids run a song, and Becky, who was the girl Tommy tried to cheer up, is looking sad again. When Aisha and Kimberly ask her what's wrong, she says no one will be there to hear her sing. Now we jump to the North Pole. In Santa's workshop, Elf number 2 is played by Alpha 5's original suit actor, Rami J. Sharf, whose last portrayal as Alpha 5 was in Season 2 with the Power Transfer Part 2, which aired close to a year before this episode. Honestly, when watching the episode, I don't see her. I've seen pictures and interviews with her, but I don't recognize her in any shots. But she is listed as being an elf on the special, so I assume she's somewhere there. We then have Santa come in and talk with the head elf. Santa Claus is played by Robert Von Fliss. Although this was his only Power Rangers appearance, it wasn't the only Saban live-action appearance. At this time, Saban had 2 other shows on the air, Masked Rider and VR Troopers. When it comes to air dates, Robert first appeared on VR Troopers Season 2, Episode 27, entitled Santa's Secret Trooper. The episode primarily revolves around Otto, one of Santa's elves, trying to get back to Santa. 18 minutes into the episode, Mr. Fliss comes into the dojo as Santa, bringing all the kids' presents and picking up Otto. This special aired November 13th, 1995, 10 days before the Power Rangers special. Interestingly enough, the VR Troopers never Trooper transformed in this episode. This has nothing to do with Santa's magic or the North Pole, but because Grimlord makes Otto grant him a wish to bring the Troopers to him with no powers, but they end up escaping. This episode brings some lore as to what magic abilities Santa's elves have. Otto can turn water into hot chocolate, which would also include heating up an object without touching it. He can also create fudge out of thin air, and Christmas elves can grant people wishes, but apparently they can refuse to certain people. Now, Robert Von Fliss then appeared on Masked Rider's 12th episode, December 12th, 1995. In this episode, Santa comes down the Stewart's family chimney and bumps into Furbus. He doesn't know who he is and asks his name and what he wants for Christmas. Santa almost gets kidnapped by some maggots, but the family runs down and tries to help him. Dex transforms into Masked Rider, the maggots get scared and run away, and then Dex demorphs. This puts Prince Dex as the only Saban live-action character to morph or transform into their suits during any Christmas special in 1995. Since Ferbus and Dex aren't from Earth, Santa doesn't have them on his list, so apparently if Santa forgot a present for you, he gives you a Christmas wish. Ferbus wishes for a giant cookie, and Dex wishes to see his grandfather, King Lexian. It's not credited on IMDb, but there's a source that claims Robert also played Santa Claus in the Beetleborgs Christmas special on December 21st, 1996. The only issue is currently the only place to stream Big Bad Beetleborgs is Amazon, but you have to purchase it separately. And the DVDs are up there used for $300. So I can't watch the episode. I saw a snippet that looked like he just kind of is on the side of the street, but I can't really tell if it's actually Robert or not. Needless to say, this is pretty much all he has as a professional actor. The only information I can find on him is that he co-founded the National Association of Miniature Enthusiasts. Back in the 80s, he and his wife, Dorothy, were heavily into miniatures or dollhouses. His wife, Dorothy, played Mrs. Claus when he made other appearances publicly. Unfortunately, she passed away November 15th, 2005. Robert passed away November 22nd, 2010 at the age of 85 years old. Now, Rita comes in and takes the North Pole captive. Then we shift back to the juice bar where Kimberly has a heart-to-heart with Becky. The little girl says her dad works a lot and she probably won't see him on Christmas. Kimberly tries to explain that Becky's dad loves her and only works to provide for her. This could have been a good moment for Kimberly to share a little about her own experience. She has one of the rougher situations with her parents being divorced, but they don't get into anything that deep. As Kimberly returns inside, the Rangers get called to the command center. Zordon fills the Rangers in on what's going on in the North Pole. When aired on TV, they head straight to the North Pole, but in the VHS special, Zordon says, "Before you go, someone wants to say hello." They go over to the viewing globe to see Kat wishing them a Merry Christmas from Australia. Afterwards, the Rangers teleport to the North Pole, and they see Rita inside yelling at the elves. The elves try to teach Rita what holiday spirit is. Rita says, "I don't think I can," and then the elf touches him weirdly. Zedd and Rita see the Rangers hiding at the North Pole. Zedd tells Goldar to go down and stop them. We get another cut to the juice bar where we have the iconic Bulk and Skull shot of them turning around and pulling donuts out of nowhere. Back at the North Pole, Billy believes that if the Rangers can't use their powers in the North Pole, neither can Rito, which would mean that Rito's powers might come from the Morphing Grid as well. It's a very popular opinion that all power, good and evil, are from the Morphing Grid, which is meant to balance each other out. The Rangers sneak into Santa's workshop. They call over the head elf and tell her they have a plan, so Aisha and Kimberly distract Rito outside. Rito's powers aren't working, and Billy says, "This is a place only good can win." Now, of course, a Ranger would view it in this way, but if we really look at the situation, neither can use their powers, good or bad. So what this strange absence from the Morphing Grid really is a fair fight between good and evil. No one really has an advantage over the other. This is the biggest missed opportunity that Lord Zedd and Rita had. The Rangers typically have to morph to defeat a putty or a tango warrior. If they sent their whole army of minions to the North Pole, the Rangers would never be able to stop them. The tangos would never need to use any sort of special powers. They would just use brute strength, which the Rangers never stop without their powers. Goldar appears and the Rangers attack the two monsters with snowballs. The monsters head back inside to get away. The elves have set up a ribbon to trip them and marbles for the Tengus. It seems very Home Alone inspired. The villains are tied up and Alpha teleports them back to the moon base, which seems idiotic when they could have teleported them into a volcano or at the bottom of the ocean. Not to sound grim, but letting them live is only going to bring more destruction to the world. This is another notch on the Zordon being evil theory, because keeping the world in fear keeps suspicion off of him. The Rangers help the elves and Santa get the toy production back on track. Now, the Rangers already helped Santa in Alpha's Magical Christmas. It would have made sense for Santa to say he recognized Tommy, Billy, and Kimberly, but that special wasn't considered canon, so it's okay he didn't say anything. Santa sends back Zedd's toys with a taunting, oversized Christmas card, which is pretty ballsy of Santa considering Zedd can send a monster down any time to kill him. Now, if Zedd was in his prime, like we see on Dino Fury, he would have gone down to the North Pole himself, murdered Santa, and come back to the moon. The Rangers return to the youth center. Bulk and Skull are doing a great Santa and his reindeer bit, and Becky sees Kimberly. Becky's dad shows up and promises to spend more time with her. And then Becky goes off to Santa, aka Bulk, and says, "You already got what I wanted. Thank you, Santa," and kisses him on the cheek. This makes Bulk and Skull more sentimental towards the holiday spirit. Tommy and Kimberly finally get to kiss under the mistletoe, and in a very awkward moment, Kimberly says, "I don't know what could make this day better." But her mom shows up. Then we see the children choir singing Silent Night, and Becky is the only one not using music. As a music person myself, that means she's superior. We then get a fourth wall break where the cast lines up and says, "Merry Christmas." Once again, guys, I hope you have a great holiday season. Thank you for watching. I hope if you enjoyed this, you share it, maybe subscribe, jump on, and have some discussions with us, because I love discussing these things with you. So have a great holiday season. I'll have a blue ranger without you. I'll be so blue, morphing without you.